All right. 3, 2, 1.
What up, everybody? Back from the ashes, we rise again. The Black Phoenix podcast, kicking it with y'all another week. We appreciate y'all hanging out with us so far, but we gonna keep it moving. TR, what's good, man?
Hey, I'm doing great. My Eagles won, and they won in the best way possible. And it's a little cold here, so you got to take the win. We can get one.
Yeah, no doubt. Likewise, Tampa Bay, despite 3 interceptions thrown, got the dub. I'm very grateful about that. Defense is looking kind of trash, and you talked about the weather. Hopefully, today will be the last triple-digit day for us down here in Phoenix. So,
Yeah.
all good.
Also, I want to give a shout out to all the supporters that have been joining us. We know we started this a few weeks ago, and I believe we're at 17 subscribers, which is I know it's a small number though, but we appreciate everyone that's subscribing, watching, liking, leaving
No doubt.
comments on the channel.
No doubt. We appreciate it. Definitely.
All right, let's kick off the first episode with Obama, who has been making the rounds lately on social media because he has some very choice words for black men. All right, we are going to be talking about Obama, and but before we do that, we're going to take a look at The View, who recently had some not so friendly comments towards black men.
But we can't poll people's hearts and we can't see into people's hearts. And so when we're looking at these polls and we're looking at who is voting for Trump, you've got 53% of white women that voted for him in 2020. We've got to reach those women. We've got to reach those ridiculous, crazy black men that did vote for Trump. We've got to reach those people. We've got to reach the Cuban men and
smoking.
overwhelmingly voted for Trump. I don't know what they're.
All right, we got enough from Miss Sunny Hostin. And real quick before we get back to the screen, look at the people on the screen right now. This is I forget her name, but I forget her name too. But I know actually I forgot her name as well too. Forget. Anyways, all of these women are not black women. Sunny is actually mixed, but the rest of these women are not black women. And so when we hear conversations like this, when we hear like the just media in general, just talking about black men in this way, it actually makes my blood boil. I don't know about you, but when I saw that clip, I was like, "There's no way she said that." And then no one else on The View said anything. I'm not expecting everyone to come out and say like, "Hey, stop that!" But somebody should have said something. Somebody should have been like, "All right, you didn't disrespect white women, you didn't disrespect Cuban men, but you had all these modifiers to black men. Crazy, ridiculous." Like just discounted the whole reason why black men. First of all, she's assuming that black men, our vote is only owed to the Democratic Party, who hasn't done anything for the Democrats or did anything for the black community in the last 50, 60 plus years. But just went ahead and was just all comfortable with it. And I got a problem. I got a huge problem with that.
I'm not surprised at all. You said it made your blood boil. It actually made me laugh. Look, as we get closer and closer to election day,
Mm-hmm.
we're going to. I talked about pre-blaming in a previous episode. They were already pre-blaming. So after pre-blaming comes sign language, and she came out guns a blazing with the shame. Look, she was so cool about Trump winning the white women vote. We got to reach those women. But when it came to the black men, it turned into ridiculous and crazy black men.
Right.
I know what this is. I had to look real quick to make sure her husband was black.
Yeah, I did the same too.
But I'm wondering. I don't want to take those shots at him, but I'm wondering how he felt hearing some stuff like that. He
Well,
knowing
he's
him,
mixed. He's mixed as well too.
so he probably agreed. Look, Matt, men standing on who they're supposed to be is going to be uncomfortable for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
So folks are going to be uncomfortable. Folks are going to feel isolated, disrespected. They're going to throw out all the misogynies and all the phobias. They're going to shame you, insult you, guilt you, need to be right you. But stand on what you believe, man. I don't discount people based on how they vote. I just ask that you can substantiate your reason for doing it.
Right.
I don't care whether you vote left or right. What I do know is the definition of insanity, as they say, is voting or doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result.
Mm-hmm.
That's us when it comes to politics. We're
Yeah.
insane.
And this is going to definitely spill over into the Obama conversation, but this is another instance where we have, and the View. No, I mean, we don't watch the View like that. We just kind of react when it deemed necessary. But when it comes to the View, they're primarily talking to a white audience, and so we're at that point, or we've been at that point where we see a lot of people just casually talking about black men in a very negative, shameful, and scolding way. I don't ever see this thing. I don't ever see this conversation with anybody else, because right now, she's not only doing bad with black men, she's doing bad with also black women. She's doing bad with Muslims, and she's doing bad. Well, I don't know if she's doing bad with Asian men, but that could be a problem down the road for the Asian community. Well, with her in the Asian community too.
You sure she's doing bad with black women? I'd be very surprised if that was true.
Well, I've seen more black women come out against Kamala, but this is the thing. I saw a stat that only, for Obama, he got like 92% of the vote, and then Joe Biden got like a little bit less than that. But she's in the 70s when it comes to the black vote, so she can't afford to lose any votes. Like if she doesn't get 90%, she's done. If she doesn't get 85% from the black vote, she's done as well too. So again, I don't see them talking about this with any other group of men, and she needs the black community the most, or black men specifically the most right now. And so I'm going to bring up the Obama clip, but before I do, any additional conversation on this one?
Look, if you stop it for Kamala, I need y'all to understand something. She has to do an interview, have a conversation, some type of town hall, or sit down with the people who don't like her. Stop hiding behind people that like you. You got to do some real work now and convince these people that don't trust you why you can be trusted. Are you going to do that? Doesn't look like you will, because you haven't yet.
Facts. All right.
Speak some truths, if you don't mind. Yes. Because my understanding, based on reports I'm getting from campaigns and communities.
Hey, did you see that?
What's that?
Look over Obama's top left shoulder. They must have had like a script or something ready to go for like, all right, no white people in this shot. Watch.
Based on reports I'm getting from campaigns and communities, is that
they all kind of stepped to the side in unison.
Yeah, she all behind the fence. There was like no white people are going to be in this shot, just black faces and black voter signs.
Yeah. This is. I have so much to say about this. Let me just start here.
Hold on. Let me let roll for a little bit.
All right, go ahead, let it roll.
Yet see the same kinds of energy and turnout in all quarters of our neighborhoods and communities as we saw when I was running. Now, I also want to say that seems to be more pronounced with the brothers. So if you don't mind, just for a second, I'm going to speak to y'all directly and say that when you have a choice that is this clear, when on the one hand you have somebody who grew up like you, knows you, went to college with you, understands the struggles and pain and joy that comes from those experiences, who's had to work harder and do more and overcome and achieves the second highest office in the land, and is putting forward concrete proposals to directly address the things that are vital in our neighborhoods and our communities, from housing to making sure that our mothers and our fathers and our grandparents can afford medicine, and making sure that we are dealing with prices that are too high and rents that are too high. and are committed to, is committed to making sure that we maintain the Affordable Care Act. So everybody's got health care and cares about things like education and entrepreneurship in our neighborhoods. And that's on one side. And on the other side, you have someone who has consistently shown disregard, not just for the communities, but for you as a person.
How?
And you're thinking about sitting out? But, you know, because of Pookie might be. And you're coming up with all kinds of reasons and excuses. I've got a problem with that because part of it makes me think, I'm speaking to men directly, part of it makes me think that, well, you just aren't feeling the idea of having a woman as president.
Oh man.
This
All
is
right.
the biggest direct and reflect that we're seeing in politics. This is such a predictable and old strategy.
Mhm.
Look, when they pushed her to the front, and make no mistake, she was pushed to the front. They knew that Biden was incompetent. They knew that Biden couldn't lead, and they waited this long to take any action on it. That's number one. Number two, Black men, if you're watching this, nobody gives a damn how you feel. So just grind harder, build your own life to your own personal happiness. They're not even listening to your complaints. Unless you are all on board with them and agree 100% with what they want to do and what they say, they're not listening to you, bro. They're just not. All they're going to do is sit there quietly, and everything that you say, no matter how accurate or valid it is, it's going to be sexist or misogynistic.
Right.
When are we going to deal with the real issues? I saw Killer Mike do a discussion style with Robert F. Kennedy. They were talking about real issues in that barbershop, policy. They were talking about the unfairness in child support and family laws. They were talking about men going to prison and giving the fairest chance at a second chance at life. They were talking about economic empowerment for the Black community. And these were men. And notice when I say these are all men talking about this, they said Black community. They didn't say Black men. Because as leaders and providers, we want to make sure the whole community is straight.
Yes.
This is such a disrespect to our intellect for them to just totally take everything that's being said and just sweep it off as being misogynistic or sexist.
Yeah. And it's unfortunate though, because this is how you silence people in general. And one of the things that they always do to Black men, I mean, first of all, it's just open season on Black men, just like you said earlier. Nobody cares. We're just going to get dragged. We're going to get blamed. We've been blamed for a lot of the elections. We got blamed for the 2016 election, even though Black men were the second highest voting group for Hillary Clinton, and then also the second highest voting group for Joe Biden. But again, it's just going to happen. And for Obama to come out here and think he can just do this hope campaign for Kamala Harris is just borderline just ridiculous and delusional, because first of all, he's assuming that, or he's already drank the Kool-Aid that the men that do not want to vote for Kamala is because of misogyny reasons or bigotry, or, you know, you just don't want to get, you can't have a woman, XYZ, blah, blah, blah. And when it comes to like some of the things that was promised to the Black community, like part of the thing that made me see the light about the Democrats was they were supposed to have the George Floyd Policing Act. That was a 2020 thing. Biden said he was going to create a law for the George Floyd Policing Act. Okay, I was like, yes, we're on that. And then he was going to do voter reform. Okay, yes, on that. And come to find out, like the only thing he did was he pushed a bunch of bills for the Asian community, the LGBT community, and there's been no discussion, any discussion for the Black community to even get the voter reform, which now that, you know, I've had a chance to look at it, that when they say voter reform, that just means that the Democrats want to steal the elections. That's what that means. Or when it comes to policing, they just said that's just pretty much what they needed to say in order to get people's votes. They had no intentions on doing anything like that. And Barack Obama is cut from that same tree or that same community, because Barack Obama does not care about, when it comes to middle class Black Americans and maybe even low income at times. He doesn't care. He's part of the same elitist Democrats and other liberals that just want to keep power in their party. But Barack Obama is not coming out here. Like, it's funny that we're seeing Barack Obama now. When Kamala was first, pushed around or named as the nominee, Barack Obama took almost a week or two to come out and endorse Kamala Harris. So he didn't want Kamala. And, and I'll end on this point and let you get in there. This just highlights the power that the Black vote has, or specifically Black men. They are worried. And if Kamala doesn't get the vote, first of all, they're still going to blame Black men for this. But this is going to be a slap in the face to the Democratic Party. And they may not win another election. They're going to have to rig elections down the road in order to get back into the White House, because they better hope that they can get some of these immigrants, get them citizenship, because they'll never win another election. Like we've seen the script, and for them to come out and just blast Black men like this and acting like we're the issue, now they messed up. They went a step too far.
He said something in that clip that just irked me. She grew up with you and she knows you. No.
Oh,
she was born in Oakland. She went up to Canada for a while. No disrespect to Canada. I worked for a Canadian employer and some dope folks up there, but
yep.
you don't know us. And again, we were singing They Not Like Us for most of this summer. Why does that apply to Drake, but it does not apply to Kamala? Is it because she went to Howard? Because most people will tell you, when they try to defend her race, which in the grand scheme of things is silly. I'm more concerned about her not having any plans or policies, but they'll try to argue that she's Black because she went to Howard and she joined the Black sorority.
Right.
And I'm like, that's a silly way to define what being Black is. So,
mm-hmm.
But let me take it back to Obama real quick, because I do want to be fair. Full disclosure, I voted for Obama in 2008. I stopped being a Democrat and switched to independent in 2010. But I don't want to sit here and say that he's never done anything specifically for us. I'll just cite two things real quick. The first one is the Brothers Keepers program, though technically that wasn't a federally funded thing. That was something he chose to take on personally, which raised a lot of money for nonprofits, particularly aimed at improving the quality of life for Black men. And then, of course, affordable care, which that affected everyone, not just Black folks, but that is something to be noted.
Mm-hmm.
But let me be clear when I say this too. Obama won as a moderate and then switched to a liberal in his second term.
Yes,
we're not going to sit here and act like the chameleon didn't happen.
Yep.
And I personally, I acknowledge that he was the first Black person to be elected president, but to put him in the same category or classification as Malcolm X or MLK, I think is a bit too much.
Oh yeah, we're done with that.
Yeah, but I see that all the time, and it just sounds ridiculous. But ultimately, what they do, and I like to call this the XX reflect. Anytime a Black man spits out an issue that he's having, or he wants to call something out, they use the powers of the XX to deflect it and knock it back. And that's exactly what's happening here. And men, yes, can use the XX reflect, as we just saw in that video. It's not just exclusive to women.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I agree, and those are very sound points. I would even give Obama credit on this, that he was the deporter in chief. Like some of the infrastructure that was set up that Trump used during his term, those were set up by Obama. All those cages and those buildings and ICE, that was all set up by Obama. So when Trump said he was going to do this, I don't know why people lost their mind on it. But unfortunately, people have short memories, and the Democratic Party has just been, trying to finesse an election and, tell Black people, tell Black men specifically that you're going to try to shame us into submission again. And I hope more Black men continue to listen to this, and Black women, and pretty much anybody, because this podcast is just to, you know, talk about current events, and also you know, talk about this, have discussions that you probably have seen in other places, but we tend to take a different take on some things, or at least present a different perspective. And so I definitely want people to continue listening to us, and you know, having the dialogue, and like I said, definitely be active, and you know, like and subscribe. But when it comes to like Obama, I mean, this is a terrible message for the Kamala campaign, because right now she wasn't even doing that good. She went on The View maybe a week or two ago talking about, or they asked her, Sonny asked her, if would you do anything different, and if you had been the leader, if you had been the president, would you have done anything different? And she said she wouldn't. Like, that is a slap in the face to anyone that said this is the candidate of change, and she said she would not do anything different. Like, maybe not even the immigrants, and maybe she could even said, like, you know, after we did X thing, you know, or after reflection, we could have handled it a little bit differently. No, she think they didn't do anything wrong, and that is a problem, and that's a huge problem to Black men, because when they start letting, at least when they give citizenship to some of these immigrants, that's curtains for a lot of Black men. So unless you have like a degree where it's
Yeah.
going into like a specialty program, that's curtains, because they're going to be taking a lot of those jobs. They're going to be doing things or working the some of the gig work jobs. They're going to be doing some of the construction jobs. So people got to figure out, like, this is a problem for, you know, all communities, and whatever happens to the I want to say Stephen A said this message, and he probably got it from somewhere else. When Black people, or when white people catch a cold, Black people catch pneumonia. And so if white people are worried about this migration issue, what makes you think this is not a big deal for Black men? Like, people have to keep waking up, though. And I feel that there's a, you know, good percentage out there, but we still got work to do.
Yeah, look, when people defend Kamala, well, let me start right here, because I said this when we talked about the debate. I said one of the questions I wanted her to answer was, how are you going to be different from Biden?
Yes, yeah.
But I noticed that the Kamala defenders, their defense argument is always, she was the vice president. What do you want her to do?
Right.
If that's the approach you're going to take, then you're basically telling me the VP position is irrelevant. It doesn't properly train you to run the country. So that's a weak argument to me. If you're just telling me this is just a placeholder spot where you're supposed to get on the job training, and it's clear that Joe Biden is capable of doing on the job training, how does that make you feel better about her being the commander in chief? How?
Exactly.
Like, this don't make sense, man. And I just wish people would just ask questions. Well, people try to ask questions, but they get shamed into being quiet. And I think people are tired of that, especially in some of these large blue cities that claim to be sanctuary cities. You can easily look up and find people in the community complaining about the problems that illegal migration is causing. I know the news outlets don't want to report and talk about this, but we've seen the reports from places like Vice, for example, where they talk about these gangs in Chicago actually talking about unifying because they're seeing these immigrants coming in with illegal weapons. Like, this is all under her watch. She was the border czar. We know that much about her. We know at the very least she was given that task to do. And again, I've been trying to find some reason to get excited about her, but you got to do better than it's because she's Black. That doesn't work for me anymore, because we need to really stick to policies and fixing problems.
Yes. Yeah. As a you know, best way to end it. And we're gonna, as I think you said this earlier, they're just gonna keep pushing. They're just gonna ratchet it up. And so now they got Kamala, and I couldn't find the clip, or I meant they got Obama coming out. I couldn't find the clip, but Obama had mentioned like something to the fact, like, you're lucky Michelle's not here. What the hell is Michelle going to do?
Low key, let's be honest. Obama won that election because of Michelle. Because I guarantee you, if he was married to a white chick or anybody who wasn't Black, he would have lost a lot of support. Michelle was a huge reason why he won that election.
I don't think so. I don't think so, because Biden. Oh, why would they vote for Biden then?
I don't think he wanted Biden. I don't think he ever wanted Biden. I think that was a compromise.
No, I meant in 2020. Why would people vote for Biden if
Oh, that was just January 6th was Trump's down. That was the last straw for people. So I think after January 6th happened, no matter whether he was attached to it or not, people were done with him. People were tired of him at that point.
This is before January 6th was before the election because because the election was 2019. January 6th was 2020.
That's what I'm saying. It was before the election.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
So there was a bunch of other things, the stand back and stand bys and all the other stuff that he was saying. I think people were just tired of him. But I think now people got what 4 years of Biden looks like, and they're like, if these are my only two choices, at least we know that he is mentally functioning properly. Is that the right choice of words? I don't know. But we keep getting these lesser of two evil scenarios, and any ammunition you pull up on Trump, you can make the same argument against Biden, whether it's moving secured and sharing information, cocaine in the White House, hush money to keep people quiet. Like, look, all these sides got dirt. I don't understand why you're only paying attention to one side's dirt versus the other.
Yeah,
I don't get it.
Yeah, something to ponder on. All right, we are going to go to a fun topic with Cameron and Mace.
I want to hear your definition, because before we get any further, my wife has to be a whore. If I get married, she got to be a whore. Come on, man. No, because a slut and a hoe is bitches that fuck everybody.
Oh,
a whore is somebody in bed. It's just nasty. You know what I'm saying? That's my definition. That's why I'm glad she said that. You got to be nasty if you're gonna be my wife. Like, you got to be a full-blown whore in there when you're in the bed. I don't want polite sex. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, like
not nice in the bedroom.
Be somebody else, man. You know what I'm saying? Yo, fam, this is dead honest truth.
Yeah.
I was getting some head. I was getting fam, and I was getting some head. This word to my mother. I was choking the bitch, and I was like, "Yo, you ready for me to come in your mouth?" And I won't let her up to talk. She went like this. Say, yo, fucking mind, I like that right there. Sorry, murder, we get too deep. Sorry, murder. I'm just saying. My bad, Arabia.
All right. Man, Cam and Mace,
Cam is the friend that you got that says the quiet part out loud. He don't care who hears what. He gonna get it off.
Yeah,
But
yeah, more ways than one.
I guess here's the problem though. I get why he said what he said, but I think there might be some and I hate being the word salad guy, but I think the in context the conversation was, what's the difference between slut, hoe, and whore?
Mm-hmm.
He said that his wife is going to be a whore. When I think of whore, I hear a profession. I hear somebody that you pay them to do things like that. There's the argument that we all pay for it, though. That's the thing. And a lot of fellas subscribe to that theory. They don't really see the difference, especially when hypergamy becomes involved. Mm-hmm. But I think this is one of the things that you don't say out loud, because say he does get married, right? If people remember this clip, what's the first thing they're gonna think when they see his wife walking down the aisle?
Oh,
they're gonna think she's a whore. So low key, you just oh man, low key, you just put something on her that everybody gonna know about now. And look, the last thing you want to do is talk about what happens in your bedroom, because if you are dating somebody who's a freak, who's into nasty, disgusting, vile things, and they only like that with you, don't want anybody to know. You just don't.
Man, I don't know what to tell you. I'm gonna tell you right now, if you lined up all the I mean, I'm not gonna try to front like that, but if you look at, if you talk to my exes, they're gonna be like, "Yeah, he said he wants me to say I'm a whore and all that." I'm like, I don't know what to tell you. Like, I like what I like. I like what you say things, and I get what Cameron is saying. I think most men get what Cameron's saying, but you're absolutely right. If your chick is wild, I mean, talk to a chick. Like, if you know your chick is like that, or she has told the world she is like that, it's a wrap, and everybody's going to try to take your girl, and that's going to drive you insane. So you got to be ready to lose her, or you got to keep her under wraps, like maybe date a Mormon chick or something. But whatever it is, you can't be letting people know, like, like, hey, she's a housewife, I don't want her to do none of that nasty stuff.
No,
And
them chicks is horny too. Them Mormon chicks. Don't let them off the hook. I work with some Mormons. They be telling me the facts. They are sexually deprived.
yeah. So I guess the other question to it is, what are you supposed to do though? Because if people like, I mean, do we really need to know that Cameron, whoever girl Cameron's with, you know, he's gonna try to slut him out or whatever? Like, honestly, I feel like most of these rappers and athletes, I mean, they're just destroying these, defiling all these chicks. I don't know what is, you know, off the table with some of them, but I know a lot of them like, hey, if I don't do this, then I'm probably not going to get a call back, or I can be acting, you know, shy about certain things. But also, here's the thing: you gotta, like, what if you find out that your chick used to do stuff like that, and she don't do that stuff with you anymore? She used to be a whore, and now,
Oh man, now she wanna be white bread. Oh man, she was a superstar for some other ninja, but now
hey,
that means that she sees you as a simp, my good sir.
oh,
And I hate using the word simp. I'm glad it's coming back. But I personally hate to use it. But if you tolerate that, and this is another reason, I know a lot of people say don't talk about body counts or your past.
yeah.
No, let's have that conversation. I ain't gonna bring it up often or a lot, but you ain't about to be giving me no 7.5 when you gave some other ninja a 10. No,
Hey,
that's not how this is gonna work. Nah.
exactly. I'm
Absolutely
not.
not.
No, man. Like, look, and I'm not even the type of guy that even cares about body count. But if I find out you've been, you know, doing up the pooter shooter, I mean, you gonna tell me no, man? But I gotta have the first at something, and you telling me you already had the first at all these things? Nah, we gotta do something different. Nope. I don't care what it is. We will figure it out. I'm gonna be the first at something. And yeah, I mean, like I said, if they let you, if the title comes down to like being your whore, or your slut, or whatever, then you know, I think it's just unfortunate because, or and not even unfortunate, but for a lot of women, I think they may feel some type of way with that type of label, like, or that public label, because I don't know, did he name drop the woman? He didn't name drop her, right?
No, he didn't name drop.
Okay. So he didn't name drop, but you're absolutely right. Like, you know, is she gonna be okay with everyone knowing the type of woman that she is? And that's gonna be that's the other problem too, because she might feel some type of way, because you got to worry about some other, you know, guy coming in that, you know, big bank take little bank type of situation. But then you got to worry about with her, like, oh God, my dad knows about this. And I know with the Hot Tour girl, she said her dad did know about it. It was a joke and everything. That ain't no joke. That ain't something to be joking about either. And I would never want to go viral with, or someone that I knew or cared about going viral for something like that.
Yeah, and she's definite. First of all, she has going back to High to a girl. She has a great sense of humor. Number one. Number two, this is gonna follow her for forever. I
Yeah.
don't. She's young right now. She probably don't care, but she gonna be 55 one day, sitting there hanging out with her grandkids. Hey, you Hot to a girl. Like, look, it's not going anywhere, man. But here's how life works. Somebody, more than likely a simp, will marry her just because he wants to
Yes.
experience that.
Oh yeah.
So
Yeah.
so
Man.
now he's got to deal with it. So, brother, whoever you are, hope you ain't insecure. Because
No.
Shaq had already took a trip to see her too, and I don't know what happened there, but
You know what happened. You know what Shaq got a list of, like, if your girl has been around Shaq, you might as well, hey, you just chalk it up to the game. Move on.
yeah, if somebody snatched your chick. She wasn't yours to begin, but it was just your turn for a little bit.
Yeah, and real quick, going back to Cam real quick, you know the craziest, the most insane thing what he said when he was talking about his experience with that girl. What he said, do you want me to shoot the club up your mouth? And what you asking?
Hey,
What are you asking for? Who I'm just saying, what are you asking? Well, you got to be nice, and I'm a gentleman. No.
this is going to happen. Whether you've already consented to this happening when you started the process, so be prepared to deal with the consequences.
Hey, there's no like let's give me a heads up or a tap or something. Nope.
I would say to any woman who's watching this, because I've had a few people ask me to talk about this subject, and it was mostly women, by the way. The takeaway here is when those doors are open, be modest, be feminine, be relaxed, be chill.
Mm-hmm.
You should be a mystery to other men. Like,
yes.
Don't be out here showing out your goods and giving choosing signals on social media like a lot of women do and think is okay. Now, when that door closed, it ain't nobody around but y'all two. That's a whole different conversation. Just make sure y'all both want the same things and y'all both willing to do the same things. But if you do have those type of tendencies and you keep it private, that's your private, and then your public is this modest, cool, feminine woman, you're going to win every single time. That's what I would tell y'all.
Yeah, I guess this is my fatal flaw. If I'm with a chick, I want her looking nice. I want motherfuckers looking.
I mean, I don't knock people who feel that way, because you got to be real secure to feel that way, honestly. Yeah, well, if she gonna, sometimes you got to pop out and show them, But as long as she understand, hey, I'm with him, we good.
Yeah, no, just to tell a quick story. So there was this one girl I was with, and she was she was a former model, and she had a very slender figure, but she had she definitely got enhanced. And and way before I met her, but I was like, nope, you're not wearing that. You're wearing that. You're wearing something that's revealing. Because we'd go out to like some nice places, but I want everyone trying to break their neck, trying to look. I want to catch them looking and just laugh at them like, hey, yeah, they're mine. I mean, they're not mine now, but you know what I mean.
I honestly, I'm one of the I don't care either way types. I'm more so just focused on how you conduct yourself, because as I said previously, when you're married, your wife is a reflection of your masculinity.
Yeah,
so
that's true too.
However she's conducting herself is going to reflect on me as a man. Period.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. But hopefully someday I get over that type of having my girl out there stunned.
You like what you like, man. You like what you like.
Right. All right. We're gonna go to the next topic.
The shocking allegations leveled at Sean Diddy Combs have burst the floodgates on salacious claims about an industry many people believe harbored a monster. Understandably, the internet's ablaze with claims about these events and whether other powerful figures were involved too. Well, last week, I interviewed Jaguar Wright, a singer-songwriter who's made claims about Diddy for years. Those claims had already received a lot of attention in the media across many platforms for many years. And that's the thing about platforms. The reality of the modern world is that pretty much everyone has a platform as long as there's something to say that other people want to hear. That's why we invited her on to be interviewed. The people making these claims have an audience with or without shows like mine. Well, Jaguar Wright unexpectedly made several serious allegations about Jay-Z and Beyonce during that interview. As I said in the moment, they were not present to respond or defend themselves. But now they have. Their lawyers contacted us to say that those claims were totally false and have no basis in fact. And we've therefore complied with the legal request to cut them from the original interview. Editing interviews is not something we do lightly at a show called Uncensored. But, like the proverbial cries of fire in a crowded theatre, there are legal limits on us too.
Wow. That's interesting.
So just to recap, for those of you who did not see the Piers Morgan Jaguar Wright conversation, and if you don't know who Jaguar Wright is, she's been on the industry's neck for a long time. She talks about a lot of trafficking, non-consensual. We're on these YouTube streets, so I'm like, great. She talks a lot about grape, forced drugging, things like that. And
That's it.
unlike most of these people who do it subliminally, she mentions names. She says names. And I find it ironic that she's never been sued, because I looked that up today. I tried to find any lawsuit I could with her stage name or her real name, and I've had nothing. And
That's
she
a good
said
point.
on multiple occasions, I have receipts, and if I'm lying, sue me. But going back to what she was originally said on Piers Morgan to get all this jumped off, she went at Puffy, she went at Epstein, and she's been saying for the last couple of weeks that Jay-Z and Beyonce are next. She said that they've got some things that they've been doing that they've been that's about to come to light, basically. And that's what essentially Piers Morgan apologized for. So I'm assuming somebody on their team hit him with a cease and desist, which is
Mhm.
really weird because Pierce rarely censors himself. That's why a lot of people like going there to talk to him.
Yeah,
But
uncensored is
that's
the show
essentially
too.
yep, that's the name of the show, exactly. And that's the context of it. But Jag's never been sued. And I'll tell you another thing, and then I'll give it back to you. I always talk about the big four. You can never go after the big four. And for those of you who are wondering who the big four is, it is the LGBT, women, are people of Jewish faith in China. I found that if you go after those four groups of people and you want to be a celebrity, essentially you're sacrificing a bag. But Jag at some point has had smoke with all of those groups for different reasons.
Mhm.
But taking it back to the Jay-Z and Beyonce, she threw out some wild accusations about them with trafficking and forcing people to do things that they didn't want to do. She also mentioned in a previous interview, I'm gonna add this before I give it to you, Kimberly Thompson. If you Google that name and look at her relationship with Beyonce and why there's restraining orders involved, you're going to find some very disturbing accusations coming from Kimberly regarding Beyonce.
Wow. So, and anything we say about this is all alleged, but
Alleged.
is there a chance this could be true?
I don't know, man. I'm not in those rooms. I do know people who have worked security for certain celebrities, and they definitely say there's some wild things going on.
Mhm.
Uh, I can never get names, but I don't press too hard because it's I don't know, it's just wild. But the conversation is always you'd be surprised who's doing what. I didn't see some stuff you don't want to see.
Yeah,
But again, I go back to my point that Jag has never been sued.
that's
And
a very good
she's
point.
been doing this for years. So I don't know what to make of it. I have friends who want to get into this industry, and I just tell them, just keep your morality and your integrity. Don't
No,
say
just say keep your booty hole tight, like
like Cat Williams said. And that's another thing. She ain't saying nothing different from what Cat been saying.
That's-
I don't think Cat's ever been sued either. Not for this
Yeah.
anyway.
No, it's interesting to see Jaguar Wright because I really wasn't familiar with her. I did see pieces of the interview that led up to the apology and cutting the video, but it's weird that because Pierce, he's in the UK, right?
Yeah.
How,
He's British.
how did the lawyers force their hand to cut that video?
I would imagine that they have attorneys in just about every country that they do business in.
Man, talk about
And
a
they know the laws. Look, anytime you try to silence somebody and not contest what they're saying,
Mhm.
it looks like you're guilty. If I could throw a subliminal shot, I could argue that's the same thing Megan Stallion did to Tory Lanez. And anytime you try to silence somebody where they can't speak about a certain subject that they clearly were around for, it looks like you did something wrong and you're trying to cover it up. That's my opinion. But I'm not too vested in celebrities because I think people worship them enough as is. I appreciate good music or a good movie if I see it, but that's as far as I'm willing to take it. I'm not attached to any of them.
Yeah, and just to have a quick update for the folks out there that haven't been following it, Diddy just had the trial just been set, and he was denied bail for the third
Twice.
time.
Oh, third time. Okay.
Yeah, third time, and so again, you got Diddy. I hope it's televised because, or at least it's on the internet or whatever, because that'll definitely be a conversation. I mean, a lot of content creators are going to eat off of that. But pause. but you're going to see a lot of people really discussing this whole Diddy thing, and people seeing that, hey, you go to Hollywood, you get in these circles. And full disclosure, I think for the people involved, I think they're all consenting adults, and now they're trying to get a bag off of this. And Diddy, yeah, definitely, it appears that he's is a dirtball. I saw like there was a a minor conversation come up in an article that's going to be coming to light in the trial, which is like, man, this is he ain't getting out. He ain't never going to get out. And especially if you're dealing with younger individuals, you definitely shouldn't be able to get out anyways. So
at the very least, I mean, we saw the Cassie video. I don't know what his defense is for any of this. I'm sure he has a legal team. I'm curious to see what the defense of all of this is going to be. I know allegedly she hit him while he was in the shower, and he kind of just got pissed and ran out and did what he did. But it's not what can be proven. We have the video footage. Well, and I'm gonna land after this. Yeah. I judge a tree by the fruit that it bears. And like I said previously, I've never heard a former Bad Boy artist say that they were compensated fairly or that they were treated fairly. So that's essentially all that I can go off of when it comes to stuff like this.
Yeah, with that whole video thing, I know they're trying to get the video thrown out, which if you're saying it applies to the SA allegations, then why would that video need to be submitted? And you got to remember, this is the same state that prosecuted Harvey. Was it Harvey Weinstein? Is his name?
Yeah.
And he got his conviction thrown out because they mishandled the case. So you got to remember that. And also, Trump, he was charged under the Adult Survivors Act, which is the same. Which pretty much was the which started this whole thing with Diddy and other people. But that case, I mean, I know it's been a verdict has already been submitted, but Trump is currently appealing it. That case might be getting thrown out. So there is a chance that this, if they bungle the case, they could get this case could get thrown out as well too. So that's something that I know the world will want to see, or people want to see what happens. But if they mess this case up, I mean, it's going to be another, black eye for the DA up there, though. So I guess
this is all happening in New York, right?
Yeah,
they fumbled cases before, so it's very possible that this might get fumbled too.
Yeah, the only person it seems like the only person can get charged with anything is Cuban Gooding Jr. and Michael, or not Michael, but Kang Conqueror. What's that dude? Jonathan Majors. Yeah, Jonathan Majors. There's apparently only two people that can get charged for these types of, even though his was an SA situation, but there's only two people that were charged by the DA or made example by the DA. So
that man was running for his life from that white girl. He still got caught up. That's
I wish we had time to really discuss that because that's a very interesting case. And most of you men out there, you need to be looking into that case. I know it's easy to say Jonathan Majors was just being dumb. He should have picked right, blah, blah, blah. No, that's not even what happened. Like, no matter what you think happened, it comes down to what the DA did in order to make that case happen, including paying the witness or the victim to fly from Europe to back to the New York when the crime took place, because she wasn't going to come back. But when the DA wants to make an example out of you, they'll incentivize the victims. And I think something did happen with her, but this was the same thing that she put herself in a bad situation by attacking Jonathan Majors, and there's really nothing he could have done other than what he did was just trying to run away. But unfortunately, that's what they got him on, and he lost a bag over it. So definitely look into that Jonathan Majors case. Nate the Lawyer is a great content creator. He had a great breakdown on it. So definitely watch the video that Nate the Lawyer put out there, and he'll go through piece by piece why this case shouldn't have ever been brought up. But unfortunately, Jonathan Majors had to pay the price.
Sounds like we want a little bit of a pivot, so let me stay here on that pivot real quick. Since we're telling young men to look into the Jonathan Majors case, I would also throw two other cases out there for you to look at: Johnny Depp and Amber Heard.
Yes.
And then I would also, advise you to look into the Travis Hunter case from about a year ago, because that was a
Oh,
case
yeah.
where there was clearly footage on video of his woman abusing him. And there's a lot of the layers there. And I say all that to say, as men, we control access to relationships and marriages, but we need to start doing a better job of vetting and checking things off before we take those steps. Absolutely, we do.
Yeah, and throw a fourth one in there. That football player, Rudolph.
I meant to. His name, his last name is Rudolph. It's Travis Rudolph. I said
Yeah,
Hunter.
Travis Rudolph. Well,
Yeah, Travis Rudolph.
so was
you're
she
right.
abusing him?
There's ring footage. He did call her. He called her a B.
Yeah.
When they were arguing, but there's
Yeah, I heard.
footage of her beating him on the back of the head after he said that.
Oh, I didn't
it
even.
was used in court. So I watched the entire lead attorney.
Yeah.
Shout outs to the lead, because he reviewed this. And this case was important for me because I own guns. I'm a Second Amendment guy.
Mhm.
So I wanted to see how it would go, and it went exactly how it should have went. The only mistake he made. Do we want to pivot and talk about this, or we want to?
Yeah, we got a little bit of time.
The only mistake that he made, they had their argument. She told her cousins and her brother to go over there and air the house out. We all know what that means.
Mhm.
They came over and knocked and kicked on his door. Conflict started. He told them he had a gun. They fled. The problem was his brother, Travis Rudolph's brother, not Hunter. Travis Hunter is the guy from Colorado who's probably going to win the Heisman. Travis Rudolph's brother went and chased those guys after they were leaving. And that's where it got complicated. Because obviously, if your brother went to go fight, you're going to go make sure he's okay. Travis went. Travis claimed that when they were walking up on the gentleman who came to his house, they saw guns pointed at them. So Travis pulled his gun out and started shooting and hit and killed one of them. And that's what the case was about. But I say all that to say the root cause and what we need to do a better job of doing is vetting who we choose to be in relationships with. And I subscribe to the theory that the best way to see a woman in her true element is when she's angry, when the world tells her no, and when she can't get her way. If you can see how she reacts in those three scenarios, I think you could do a pretty good character assessment of what type of woman that you're getting. There's other things you should check too, but that's just a starting point.
I would say when she's drunk too.
Yeah, sometimes being drunk brings out who they truly are. But I could argue that if she's constantly drunk all the time, that might be a red flag too.
Yeah, and the crazy thing with Rudolph is that the woman that he was dealing with, she was married. It's like
She was married and mad that he was messing with somebody else.
Yeah, and it's like, and I know some men that if that's your thing, that's your thing. But y'all, I mean, she lost her brother. She's not going to jail. I would say she should go to jail. But she lost her brother in that, and Travis got his, he was, I think he was staying with his mom or rehabbing with his mom because I know he was trying to get healthy or he had been injured or something. But yeah, he, was this all worth it? No, and she wasn't even that good looking. I don't know what the woman that has to look like, but I still haven't seen a woman worth throwing your life away or putting your life in danger. That's
another takeaway from this, and we got to call this like we see it. Some of these women will send you to war for a stupid reason, and it might be a war that you won't return from. Like she literally sent her brother and her cousins over there to delete him because he called her a B and he was messing with another woman.
Yeah.
And as men, we got to do a better job of that too, checking that behavior. I have some females in my family that I know that they wouldn't take advantage of this, but if they called me and said something bad happened to them, I would believe them with no hesitation. But there's accountability that comes with something like that. I have to trust that you're not going to call me or any of my other cousins or whatever over a very stupid reason. And a lot of these women will send you off to war for a dumb reason.
Yeah, death. They call it death by simp. Doesn't mean you're the simp, but if so you see something going down, something going on, you can end up in the police car or in a casket, unfortunately.
Man, let me tell this story real quick since we here, and this was a lesson that I had to learn. My sophomore year in college, back in my hometown, I was walking to my car from class, and I walked past what is now, it was always called Memorial Park. There was a couple who was fighting, man and a woman. The man proceeded to call the woman out of her name, and he kind of pushed her down to the ground and was kind of slapping her up a little bit. I go over there to intervene. They both jumped me and both started swinging at me and telling me to mind my business. And ever since that day, I don't get involved in other people's disputes. I'll call the police if it needs to be called, and I'll tell them like, "Hey, just so you know, I called the police. So I suggest y'all chill out." But nowadays, you can't trust people not to be crazy, and I'm not doing that again.
Yeah.
If it's somebody I don't know, I'm definitely not doing that again.
Yeah, no, that's a very good point. And prisons and cemeteries are filled with men that did the same exact thing that you were doing, and trying to help, trying to be a good Samaritan, and it didn't go that way.
Yeah, no doubt.
So, all right, we are going to get to the last topic. So we start with Kamala, and we're going to end with Kamala.
A $20,000 forgivable loan for them to be able, for example, to pay to set up a really good website so
Do you
that their
feel that
business
it might
could then
intersect with
thrive.
PPP loans and how, some people were involved with that, the PPP loans and fraud and all of that?
Fraud, listen, I spent a career prosecuting people for fraud. So we will take care of the abuses, but that's not a reason to not give people an opportunity to thrive. I think there is a real misconception that people just, and only their highest aspiration is to have a job. That's not where I come from in terms of how I think of it.
Right. All right. We just watched Kamala Harris on the Shade Room very eloquently discuss this plan for specifically for Black men. And before we dive into it, I think one of the crazy things that she had mentioned was $20,000 for a website, which is kind of insane, I would say, because you don't need $20,000, or most people don't need $20,000 for a website. But we pulled up the plan that we're gonna go bullet point by bullet point and kind of discuss this. But before we do, to me, this highlights how out of touch the Democratic Party has been towards men, and then Black men specifically, because all of a sudden they're worried about the Black men vote, just like we discussed earlier. And why are you waiting until, well, two questions. First is, you're in office, so why did you do this the first 4 years? And then secondly, why are you doing it now? The election's in a few weeks. Actually, I got a third question on some of this stuff. How are you going to pay for this, and what's going to be the oversight? I guess 4 altogether. But those are just questions out the gate for me. The most important one is, why didn't you do any of this when you guys have been in office for the last 4 years? That's my question. MC?
All valid questions, but I can answer one of them for you. Look at point number 5. That's how she's going to pay for it. Legalizing recreational marijuana. I get it. It's a great revenue source for the government. It's long overdue. Why is this in the Black men's plan?
I know. I was about to just say that. I was about to just say that.
Yeah. I think there's a solid start here. There's a lot that's missing. The marijuana thing, I wouldn't trace that to, if you're going to have point number 5, I like the second part of the sentence, creating opportunities for Black Americans to succeed, because that is a very difficult industry to get into already. But I would like to see more language.
Is it difficult for Black Americans to get into, or is it difficult for anybody to get into?
Anybody, because you have to have lab testing, and then there's FDA. Well, actually, it's not a federal thing yet. There's local regulations. And when you get these lab tests, they're not cheap, and you have to, prove the percentages of THC and other components. It's not a cheap thing to get. If you're going to bring up point number 5 and make it relevant to Black men, you need to bring up all the points of the nonviolent people who sold marijuana and are sitting in jail right now, because you need to provide them some forgiveness too. So that's a missing there. But I don't like the fact that you're making marijuana attached to Black men in this plan. I'm just going to go line for line. Let's just talk about each point by point. We just did. Well, what do you think of on point number 5?
Yeah. So just like you said, this is just disrespectful to Black men because, first of all, the plan says Black Americans. Or the line says Black Americans, but the plan is specifically for Black men. This isn't for just Black men. This is maybe something for anyone that, according to Democrats, one drop rule will be eligible for this legalization of marijuana. And what is she going to do, or how is she going to make it easier for Black Americans to get into this industry, though? Because if you're saying it's a money situation, again, I'm going to ask the first question is, who's going to pay for this? And it sounds like the middle class is going to pay for it. Middle class pays for everything, so maybe that's the case. But what are you going to do about the testing and everything? Like, it's pretty. I mean, you cannot use marijuana. You cannot have a bank account. Am I correct on that, MC?
It varies state to state. So let me give you an example of how inconsistent THC laws. So I live in Arizona. It's legal here. But I live in a small, very, very conservative town that will not allow a dispensary in my town.
Yep.
But there's too many inconsistencies with THC right now. 1 minute they can accept debit cards. 1 minute they can't. 1 minute it's cash only because they can't get a bank account. Next minute it's not. It does need to be a federal correction so that they can have bank accounts and there's proper monitoring, get the FDA involved in stuff like this. But again, this is something that's going to benefit everyone because the large majority of people partake in marijuana. This ain't just a Black man thing, unless you talk about the ones in jail for selling it. Get them out. You might be onto something. Again, to your earlier point, how you going to pay for this stuff? And that's why we should jump to point number 1. Selling... Legalizing and taxing marijuana is going to provide you a whole bunch of revenue. That's probably how you're going to pay for it. That was the answer to the question.
Okay.
It ties to number 1 because now she's saying she wants to provide 1 million loans that are fully forgivable to Black entrepreneurs.
Well, real quick, let me jump in. So for the legalizing of the marijuana, it's still weird to me though, and I don't care if you want to legalize it or not or make it a federal thing or whatever the case is, but it just sounds like there's going to be a lot of red tape happening on here that she's not going to be able to just take care of in one administration unless she's talking about like in their second term. So I do believe if Kamala does win, she's going to get a second term automatically. So I don't know who they're going to send out there in 2028. But if she does win, then she'll definitely get the second term. So 8 years of, Kamala Harris, blah, blah, blah. But again, how quickly can you get this done? Like
that's a great question. Because the federal government is so far behind compared to states like Colorado and Arizona that are already progressively setting standards on the strains and the quality of THC that you can have. The feds are behind in this regard. This is like prohibition almost. The people wanted it. You should have just let it go. But I do want to say the second part of that sentence says creating opportunities for Black Americans to succeed in that industry. The intent of that is great, but it's kind of vague. But I think that's kind of the answer to your question. Somehow she's going to create these opportunities. I don't know how. It'll be interesting to see though. That's all I got with that. THC is going to be a complicated thing.
All right, so we got a lot of questions on number 5. You want to jump? You want to jump to number 1?
Yeah, let's just go to 1 to work down. Providing 1 million loans that are fully forgivable to Black entrepreneurs and others to start a business. Ironically, Florida does something like this with women. Believe it or not.
Do tell, huh?
Yeah. So. I'm saying that because Florida has a conservative governor and is considered to be red right now. But there are grant programs for women entrepreneurs in the state of Florida. And I know that off of some personal experience of one of my clients. But I don't have a problem with this in terms of addressing the income gap. But again, I think I would love to see what the terms are for these loans to be forgivable.
Yes.
And I would like to. I guess as long as you're allocating these resources to people that have a business plan and actually know what they're doing and what type of business they want to run, I'm okay with this.
Mm-hmm.
But And again, I'm assuming that they're using point number 5 to pay for this. If they're not using point number 5, then I have a big problem, because anytime you're going to add a new expense, I'm going to want to see how you're going to offset it with revenue coming in.
Yeah. So for point number 1, I think this is a setup. Remember the PPP loans?
Yeah, we can't forget the PPP loans. That was a little bit of chaos.
They set a lot of people up on that, because people and yes, people were dumb with the PPP loan and just, you know, getting these checks without any guidance. And they just, hey, we got time. We got all the time. They're still cracking people for the PPP loans. So for them to say that fully forgivable to Black entrepreneurs, again, this is a plan specifically for Black men, but it says Black entrepreneurs. This is insane. Why does it say Black men? This tells me this is an open for Black women as well too, or anyone. Again, per the Democrats, if you have at least one drop, you are considered Black. So anyone can really get this loan that has any type of, you know, Black ancestry in their bloodline. So this, to me, this is not really helping specifically for Black men. So her intent is to help Black men. I know a lot of people are like, well, she's still doing something. She's helping. No, she's not. Like, first of all, your ass is going to have to pay for it. Like 1 million, anytime they're giving away money, you as the consumer or the middle class, you are going to have to pay for it. So just like they're trying to do with the student loans, middle class Americans have to pay for that out of our taxes. And so when she says fully forgivable, there's no plan behind that. There's no what are the restrictions on something like this? Like, you're better off. And another thing too is, and we may have mentioned, I think we talked about this maybe in a previous episode, but some people are not good at opening up a business. And I've seen a lot of people get these loans and open up t-shirt shops, poetry slam jams or whatever, poetry jams or whatever. There are going to be a lot of times where people just get money and they just blow it. Is that better serving the community, or would it be better served helping people that already have an established business? Or maybe you could do both. Find a way to get the loans. But again, this money is coming out of the taxpayer funds, and I know since we pay for the Ukraine and Israel and all that stuff, we definitely got the money. But you're not really helping. This really isn't helping Black men with these forgivable loans. And not to mention, how are you going to monitor this? Because $1 million for Black entrepreneurs, that's going to be a lot of people just sprouting up businesses. How are you going to manage stuff like that? They can't manage it. This is another Kamala Biden type of plan, is where they have these good intentions on the surface, but when it comes time to executing and managing, and managing after year 1, it just goes to crap. And there's some criticism about this with Obamacare. At least in the first couple of years, it was kind of a shit show with Obamacare. Now it's a little bit more organized, but still, it took a little bit before it got to where it is before what it is today. So when she says these loans on paper or on social media, it sounds nice though, but they're not going to be able to management. I have yet to see the government manage anything out the gate without any issues or for it not to be abused. When you watch that video, she looked back. She's like, "Oh no, we can handle that. We'll worry about that." No, you will not. Like, the PPP loans is a great example of that.
Yeah, one thing with the PPP loans that a lot of people don't understand, we know about the people that were abusing them, but there were also people that took them out for righteous reasons and still ended up having to pay them. So one of the conditions of accepting a PPP loan was you couldn't have layoffs. So I worked with a lot of corporations that took the PPP loans, but had to do layoffs anyway, because it was supposed to be forgiven if you met certain metrics and certain things. Just the fact that they had layoffs alone disqualified a lot of people from having that forgiven, and they had to pay it back in full. That's why I keep harping on what are the qualifications and the terms of these loans that they're going to have. And you brought up a really good point with the word Black. It's too vague. You call this a Black men's plan, but it just says Black. And let's be honest, any types of programs that are developed for Black people, there tends to be non-Black people who take advantage and get those same resources too on the technicality.
Hijacked.
So I'm curious to see how you're going to enforce or define even what is black. That's my pushback on number one. But the intent is okay. I just don't think it can be enforced efficiently or properly.
Yeah.
Point number two, championing education, training, and mentorship programs that help Black men. You see how they wrote Black men here? Get good paying jobs in high demand industries and pathways to become teachers, including pathways to become teachers. I'm gonna tell y'all something about teachers, and I admire, I respect, and I salute teachers, but there's such a shortage of teachers right now in so many different states.
Mm-hmm.
They need you, and I commend you if that's the route you want to take. Again, the intent of this point is good. I'd like to see more of an emphasis on skill-based jobs as opposed to pushing people to go to college. We need more trades we need more Black men in trades. But again, it's inconsistent that they define Black men in point two, but they don't do it in point one.
Yes. Yeah. We have Black. Let me see if I can highlight this. Yeah. Black entrepreneurs, Black men, Black men here. This will be a fun one. And then Black men here, and then Black Americans. See, that makes me think Black entrepreneurs might be open to people that are not U.S. citizens.
There's that because we do have people that, we have Black people that have migrated here illegally and they're already getting benefits. So why would we trust them to they want to be included in this, you would think.
Mm-hmm.
Path to citizenship and all these benefits and rights.
So point number two, and I believe I could have sworn some of these programs are already existing. Like, I feel like I've heard of these programs before. And considering all of the money that's been given to champion Black empowerment or Black communities, aren't they still around, or are these programs just money laundering situations? Because I've seen stuff like this come about where champion education. Like, first of all, are you trying to send men back into the 4-year degree or master's or situation to where we have to hope that the government gives us a loan or forgives our student loans? Training, mentorship. I don't know what they're doing with all this. This is really a bunch of word salad, because I don't know how they're going to implement this. And then also pathways to become teachers. You want to know who is the biggest supporters, group of supporters for the Democrats? The teachers union.
Yeah.
So it's very interesting that she said teachers, or in this plan that they included teachers. Like, you could have said like plumbers. You could have said any type of blue collar job where you don't always have to have a degree, but you need some type of apprenticeship. But she said, come teachers, high demand industries, lead their communities. And that's the other thing too, high demand industries and lead their communities.
Before I go to that, let me just bring up one more thing with the teachers. We're seeing more and more reports of teachers that can't afford to live in the cities that they're teaching in.
Yeah.
Most recently, the astrophysics professor at UCLA, who essentially said he's homeless, making $70,000 a year in the greater Los Angeles area. $70K is not a lot of money in LA.
Yeah, if he moved, he could make way more money. He just wants to live in LA.
Yeah, he could, but I don't know. Maybe UCLA has a great astrophysics program or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
High demand industries. Again, I changed that to trades and STEM. That needs to be our focus as Black men right now. Get back into trades, do something related to STEM. But the intent is good, but too vague, not properly drawn out, in my opinion.
Yeah, another too vague situation. And this is probably this one is really extremely vague. Supporting a regulatory framework for cryptocurrency and other digital assets so Black men who invest in and own these assets are protected. Protected from who? Protected from what? What are you talking about here? And you're telling me white people have some other network that preys on Black people? I don't know. I don't know too many Black men that actually crypto trade like that. I know they're out there, and I've only met them online, honestly, or in Facebook groups and stuff like that. But most Black men that I know in person, they don't crypto trade like that, and they probably would crypto trade if they were comfortable with it. But how is she going to protect them in their assets? First of all, crypto is already protected to a degree. So what are you going to do differently to protect those assets?
I'm more concerned if we're talking about investments. I'd be more concerned with something more tangible like land. Crypto's hit or miss with a lot of people. Crypto and NFTs.
Yeah,
I think the real fix here, because we don't like to just complain here. We like to come with solutions sometimes too. Land is the proper investment that we need right now. We need land, but honestly, I've seen too many people who have inherited land when their parents or grandparents pass away, and they instantly sell it off right away. So
yeah.
a lot of it will come back to you, but I think there will be a significant number of us who can take that land and flip it and make it into a legacy lasting for the family. I would rather see a focus on land than cryptocurrency, me personally.
Now, did the Platinum Plan cover any of this stuff? I know we got one more, but I can't remember if the Platinum Plan covered any of this.
I don't remember the specifics in that regard, but again, we talked about the opportunity zones that Trump wanted to roll out when he was in office. And what they're not saying is he kind of was putting a system in place where I think he realized how segregated most of the Midwestern cities are, for example. And he was trying to empower people to like kind of, because with these opportunity zones, you can't afford them outright on your own, more than likely. But you have to kind of combine sources with a trusted network of people to invest and take these lands and kind of build them up and either retain them or flip them or sell them or whatever.
Yeah.
But ultimately, the point is the focus was on land, not something and crypto is, you kind of got to treat it like stock to a degree. It's not stable enough. We're still kind of young in the trading game as a race. So I don't think crypto is the way to go. It needs to be land and build from there. That's my opinion.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. There's another vague situation. And she says Black men on the crypto, and crypto trading isn't just more of a Black men thing. That could be anybody. So I find it very interesting that crypto on paper, it sounds like it's something that's interesting and it's connected to Black men, but I don't know how they're going to be able to, pull that off. Anyways, last one, launching a national health equity. Every time I hear equity, I think scam, but national health equity initiative focused on Black men that addresses sickle cell diseases, diabetes, mental health, prostate cancer, and other health challenges that I can't say it, impact men and impact them.
I actually agree with this one 100% and have no problem with it.
So
we are the least healthiest race, and a lot of it is self-accountability and education. So if they want to put something together, to kind of inspire us, or some materials to read about or study about, I cannot tell you how many, and I'm going to say Black men for point number 4, because that's what was written. I can't tell you how many Black men don't go to the doctor. I know too many that don't.
I know.
I can't tell you how many Black men look down on vasectomies. I had a vasectomy last year. It's really not a big deal. It doesn't affect anything. There's lots of medical things that we tend to avoid and be prideful about and think we can just fix ourselves. And honestly, a lot of us don't even properly know how to work out. That could probably fall under this category too, but we do need a health revolution, and this might be the area where we need the most help, quite frankly.
So I definitely agree with the diabetes, mental health. Maybe honestly though, I know sickle cell is a terrible disease in the Black community. I honestly don't know too many people with sickle cell. I don't think I've ever met anybody with sickle cell, honestly, but I know it's a,
So I'll tell you this, because I donate blood. I have an O positive blood type, so my blood type is in demand, because anybody who has a positive blood type can take my blood. And one of the things they told me was that they needed more Black people to donate blood, because our blood, I believe my nurse told me, is 3 times more likely to help someone who has sickle cell. So there are racial based phenotypes with blood that matter in situations like that.
Gotcha.
I just became a blood donor just this last year. So
yeah. And so the prostate cancer, other health challenges, but honestly though, this doesn't need to be included. honestly, with this whole thing, and number four just sounds really good. We're gonna create another government group to monitor stuff like this. I have no faith in them that they'll be able to pull this off, and then they'll be efficient with it. And then honestly, for the men, if you're over 40 and or maybe you're in your 50s or whatever, like this is for the older men. If you're not getting checked out, you might as well start picking out your plot though, because where you're going to want to be buried at. You might as well start making arrangements. You want to eat cheeseburgers. You want to, not work out. I'm telling you, this stuff is very scary. And specifically picked this stuff out because if you don't have sickle cell, maybe you are, type 1 diabetes in your family. I'm surprised you didn't put blood pressure on here because that's something else that impacts Black men more than anything. And then you got prostate cancer as well too. And Black men or men in general don't want to go get their prostates checked out. But mental health, I think, is probably a soft one because I think people understand they need to do mental health. But I'm not confident that the government can run something like this. And then also, especially with the mental health thing, because I feel like all they're going to do is say, hey, Trump is the reason. I mean, look, even this thing, I just noticed this. If you scroll down, she already puts in there, Donald Trump spent 4 years making Black men's lives harder. What?
Look, let me go back. I agree with your comment about the mental health. There needs to be some type of point added on mental health. But I'll also say this. Food deserts. Food deserts are a big problem in a lot of Black communities across this country. There are too many neighborhoods that don't have access to pure vegetables or farm-based produce.
Mhm.
That can be something that can be addressed too. I know in my hometown, there's a bunch of community gardens going on. There's some things happening in down here in Phoenix too. Food deserts would be a relevant point, but this is the one point where I think there's a few things that are missing, but I don't have any issue with the intent of it.
Yeah. So, all right. So we've looked at the plan and we've, had the discussion. Do you think this is enough to bring Black men back to her, or at least get them thinking twice about voting for Trump or not voting at all?
No, I don't. If you, like I said, go back to the conversation that Killer Mike was having with RFK in the barbershop. A lot of the things they talked about in there was restoring the family and building economies. This kind of addresses the building economies, but this doesn't do anything to restore the family. What can the federal government do in that regard? We talked about this before. Maybe federal laws regarding joint custody by default, no fault divorce conversations. I've heard mandatory DNA testing. That's controversial, but it has come up.
Yeah.
I've also heard more fair equity when it comes to divorce. And that kind of falls into the no fault thing. Ultimately, if a marriage fails, someone is at fault, and that should be examined and reassessed. But I think the child support caps, ending permanent alimony, no fault divorce is a topic, and then things to say that, hey, we support you all building a family, because truthfully, that's the best way for us to build wealth, is to restore a fully functional family.
Yeah. No, you're absolutely right. And honestly, she didn't even have to come out specifically for a plan for Black men, because I think this plan needs to be retooled. And, there obviously needs to be a lot of work, but some of the stuff can be applied to pretty much all Americans, or at least, Americans that qualify, which she doesn't even know. But if you want to say this is the Black men route because you're about to lose your ass to Black men, then fine, whatever, do whatever. But that's a very good point. Some of this stuff doesn't even, it's just all fluff. Like, if you really wanted to help, if you say you wanted to help Black men and you wanted to give them a leg up, or something that's, they've been, that something that's been hammering them, or that's been working against them. Well, marriage laws, marriage has been hammering everybody, but child support enforcement, that's something that impacts a lot of Black men. Well, it impacts men in general, but I think for Black men, I feel it's a little more devastating. But then dealing with land and everything, those are very, very good points, and they're tangible things that can be done or done, pretty quickly, and or capping, child support or alimony, or figure out a compromise with marriage and divorce, or not really marriage, but just divorce. But all this stuff doesn't really help Black men. It's just something on the surface, and I definitely don't. I think if you're gonna let you've had, like, I don't know who she has in her inner circle, but she needs to fire them. This is not a very good plan. Whatever she was attempting to do, and I've seen some people just really focus on the $1 million loans, but they're not focusing on the Black entrepreneurs. So why does she leave out men? Why does she leave out Americans? So there's a whole conversation there, but I think we're pretty much on the same side for why this plan is not going to help, and it's not going to save her campaign either.
Yeah, my summary of this plan, and I'll say this: these 5 points we just talked about are just the summaries. If you want the specifics for each point, you have to read this entire 9-page document. But we didn't have enough time to do that, so we just did the summary. But my summary of this plan is the intention is well, but there's lots to be added here. There's lots to be defined here, and there's a lot missing in terms of if you really want to tighten up your relationship with the Black men. It sounds to me like, and I've said this before, the Dems, I have not been happy with the Black male representation. It sounds to me like they just talk to the ones on staff and probably just talk to a couple of celebrities and do this shit together, honestly.
Yes. Yeah. They were like, hey, ChatGPT, write me up a plan that the Negroes will follow.
Yeah.
That's what I think she did.
Man. And again, as soon as they bumped her up and said that she's going to be the candidate, I said this is going to create a quasi civil war with Black folks, because you can't ask Black women to speak for us when we have clearly defined that we don't know each other like we should.
Yes.
So now you have to deal with Black men and Black women separately to see what their wants and needs are until we unify and get on one page again.
Well, everyone, we're going to end it there. We are on episode 5, and we got plenty more to come. So definitely, I said this earlier, thank you for the subscriptions or the subs to the channel, as well as the feedback on the comments. And some of the comments have been kind of funny, but we appreciate all the feedback. And hopefully you'll watch us again for episode 6 and beyond. MC?
No doubt. Thank y'all for hanging out with us. We appreciate it.
All right. Adios, everyone.
Peace.